Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Speta. A very active tropical setup out here in the Atlantic today. Always doing our best, though, here at First Coast News to give you the latest information, not to hype this up, but kind of educate you so you can make proper decisions. And today we got, well, three areas we're watching. Gabrielle moving off towards the north and east. That's Europe's problem at this point. Humberto, which is already a named tropical storm. It was named yesterday, but you can't talk about Humberto without talking about the area just towards the west. That is 94L. If that does get named, it will be called Imelda, and these two are going to interact with each other quite considerably. And the main impacts are going to be along the U.S. East Coast, including the east coast of Florida, Sunday through about Tuesday. We're going to be looking at the very least at some rough surfs, dangerous rip currents. So make sure you're staying up to date with the most recent updates. And you're watching this video right now, so you know what, you're already ahead of the curve here. Taking a look at satellite imagery, and first we can look towards the east. Humberto starting to get a little more organized. You see some convection flaring up. See a little share off towards the north, and then back towards the west. Of course, we have our other area, which is still being dubbed 94L. Now, the big question with 94L is, where is this low-level center going to develop? If it develops just north of Hispaniola, more than likely we'll kind of steer towards the north. If we get the split low and maybe it stays a little disorganized further towards the south, that could even change up the forecast just a little bit even more so. But first, let's get into Humberto, and then I'll break down some of the models and what they're showing here. According to the National Hurricane Center, actually expecting this to become a Cat 3, so a major hurricane well towards the east of the United States. Keep in mind the forecast track and the intensity is still vastly uncertain. For example, here with the ECMWF guidance, kind of showing you, it does show this getting pretty strong down towards the south and east, but it also shows our other area, which could be named Imelda, forming and be developing a little bit closer to the coast of Florida. And really, there's so many varieties that could happen here. Let's say that Humberto develops stronger and it's a little further towards north. This actually could suck it and blow it back towards the east and kind of loop back around in a serious case as the Fujiwara effect. Right now, though, all of this comes down to the initialization. So we have to get for the latest information from the hurricane hunters. They're out there flying right now trying to find that low-level center. Once they do, these models are going to become a lot more accurate. This is basically our high-resolution graph model, and I like this because it just gives you kind of a good view of what we're talking about. You have the distance here, right around 800 to 900 miles. For a proper Fujiwara effect to take place, which is the interaction between these two, you need less than 900 miles. So they're kind of at that Goldilocks zone where we could start to see some kind of, dare I say, funky stuff set up here with the outlook. They're both going to continue to track towards the north. The high pressure, the Bermuda high, just towards the east of Bermuda. We do have a high pressure over the eastern United States. So they're likely going to thread that needle between these. Now, if this high pressure bridged, it would this high pressure built, that is, push back towards the east, that would change up the dynamics as well, but generally heading towards the north. The Fujiwara effect, by the way, I don't know what's going on with my storms, why they're further towards the north of where my circles are, but anyways, it is when two storms come close enough to each other that they start to interact, and often they would pinwheel around each other, and it makes the track forecast difficult. The intensity forecast doesn't change too much in the sense that this is still moving over warmer sea surface temperatures. There is a little bit of shear that's going to have to deal with, and that is also going to affect the intensity. So let's go through some of the different scenarios. Best case scenario would be the GFS, what it's been showing the last few days, in the sense that both these storms stay relatively weak. The Humberto kind of pulls a lot of the energy further towards the east and weakens out 94L, which could be named Imelda, closer to the coast. Now, the ECMWF, on the other hand, has been kind of indicating a stronger storm towards the west, and it gives more space between these two, so allows the one closer to the coast of Florida to kind of gather up its own energy and intensify before coming onshore into the Carolinas, and then almost pulling Humberto behind it closer to the Carolina coast. See what I mean by there's this vast amount of uncertainty? I think that we're going to have two named storms at the same time here. I do believe they're both going to work their way off towards the north, and hopefully the energy kind of feeds off both, so you get a relative kind of weakening. Now, if one overpowers the other, it could kind of gather up that energy, cannibalize it, and cause it to intensify. It is a tricky setup. We do know right now it's probably going to have two name storms. One is forecasted to become a major hurricane just towards the east of Florida. And basically, at the very least, you're going to be looking at impacts Sunday through Tuesday along our coastal areas of large waves, maybe even some tidal flooding and some dangerous rip currents. As always, hey, if you watched all the way through this update, I know it's a lot of information to digest. You're already ahead of the game. You're doing the proper thing. You're staying informed. You're staying updated. Make sure everyone around you knows what's going on so no one's caught off guard by these systems. That's our whole goal here. That's why we do what we do here. So, as always, thanks for stopping by and let us know if you have any questions.